2023 is going to be a great year for coasters, at least for Europe and China. Today's video, I'm taking these new for 2023 coasters and ranking them from worst to best. I know like almost every single coaster YouTuber has already done this video, but for one, I'm going to do this better, and two, I'm going to do 50 whole entire coasters. That's an absolute ton. Now the problem with doing 50 coasters is finding 50 coasters. There's a lot of unannounced coasters, and half of the 200 or so coasters that are opening next year are kiddie coasters, so I have juiced RCDB out of everything it had for these 50. One thing I did is took 2022 coasters that have not yet been opened or have yet to be announced and added it into this list, cause like come on, if it's not announced, it's not gonna open in the next 2 weeks. Also, there are a bunch of large scale coasters coming from Jinma Rides. I literally only put one of them on here because every single one of their coasters are completely unknown, and just how am I supposed to talk about them? It hurts me to leave them out, but I have no other choice. One last thing is that this is going to be a two-part video. The first part you're watching now, and the second one will come out on December 31st, just in time for it to be a true prediction of 2023. In the number 50 spot and the number 49 spot is the new Skyline Dueling Kiddie Coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. Do I think this beats all the Vekoma family boomerangs that are going around? No, I do not. Do I think this is more influential than the Vekoma family boomerangs? Yes, I do. This is the first kiddie coaster that is visually appealing, and the single rail aspect makes it look so much cooler than it actually is. I also separated this into two coasters to hit 50 more easily, so go ahead and cry about it. Anyways, this is an interesting step to take for Skyline, and definitely the start of a new era for Six Flags as they focus more on families. And the number 48 spot is Flying Viking at Adventureland in Iowa. Now I don't have much to say about this coaster. It's literally a very boring and mild family coaster. It looks to have decent theming, but then again, this is Adventureland we are talking about. How much spare change do they have lying around? Last time I checked, it wasn't that much. Next up in the 47th spot is Space Moon at Animalia. Animalia is a new park in Brazil that is supposed to open in 2022, though no word about its opening has been received yet, so I have the Chance Toboggan to be slated to open in 2023. Yes, this coaster is a Chance Toboggan. I thought this model was long gone, but apparently I am wrong. If you want a short summary of why this is going to be bad, it's because Chance Toboggans are super uncomfortable, and I think you hit your head on the roof or something like that. In the 46th spot is Choco Chip Creek at Energylandia. This Vekoma mine train has an insanely long ride duration of over 3 minutes. With 3 lift hills, I would say this is a skeleton of a Big Thunder Mountain and thus an uninspired version. I can't say this coaster is going to be any good. It's a mild mine train that doesn't have any theming or interact with any terrain, hence why it's this low on the rankings. The 45th spot is probably the most interesting coaster on the list. When's the last time you heard of a coaster opening in the Dominican Republic? For me, that's a first. This is another coaster that has been slated to open in 2022, though no word of opening has been announced. This coaster is like Aerodynamics but jankier. It's like Vekoma MKs but jankier. It's like Togo but jankier. It's like a looping backyard coaster but jankier. Okay, not that far, but like this coaster looks like an absolute piece of garbage and borderline safe to ride. This coaster has one vertical loop and some awkward banking, and that's really about it. RCDB doesn't even have a manufacturer listed, so you know this is going to be hella sketch. The 44th spot goes to Lightning at Furuvik, totally pronounced that correctly. This booster launched Vekoma family coaster looks pretty underwhelming. It's very interesting that it goes through its layout a second time and hits the original launch as a booster. RCDB says this coaster hits 2.8 Gs, which is very surprising with a coaster this size, though it's still taller than Manta. In the number 43 spot is this Jinma mine train type looking thing. This is the only Jinma ride on this list because it's the only one that we know remotely anything about. This layout is not exceptionally over the top, but it beats all the prior coasters for one reason, and that is theming. This coaster has amazing theming. It's what you would get if Universal built Thunder Mountain. I mean, this coaster looks rather interesting and should have a lot of interaction with its fake terrain, but it's not really going to amount to much. In the number 42 spot is Luna at Liseberg. Instead of putting like all 10 Vekoma family boomerangs, I chose to put this one because it's like the only one with any information. This looks to be a pretty mellow coaster, obviously, but the vertical spike might give a short freefall sensation, but overall, it's a good coaster because of the view. This coaster is situated on the tallest point in the park, so that's something rewarding, I guess. I'm really hoping that onboard audio gets installed in this coaster, but only time will tell. Next up in the 41st spot is a coaster that I know completely nothing about. It's the Mauer Spike Coaster going into Nickelodeon Universe in China. Mauer Spike Coasters are very quirky and haven't really caught my attention until I heard that they could do full-on trains with them. Again, I have literally zero clue what this is going to look like. It doesn't have any inversions, but I'm just shooting in the dark saying that's going to end up in this spot. Rounding off the 40s is Aquaman Power Wave at Six Flags Over Texas. Here's the coaster that people actually know about. This is a mock power splash, and ever since announcement hasn't really caught my attention. I don't care for this model, and I probably never will. First of all, water rides are my favorite, and second of all, this just looks pretty boring. I don't know, maybe it's just a me thing, but it falls into the number 40 spot. In the number 39 spot is an unknown Mack water coaster that is going to one of the Happy Valleys in China. Kind of for a similar reason as the spot above, I don't like water rides, I don't like water coasters, unless there's good theming. I mean, knowing China, this is going to have good theming, but we haven't seen any sort of concept art, so I'm just going off instinct. This is supposed to be a clone of Poseidon at Europa Park, or at least very similar to that, so it's not amazing, but it's slightly ahead of the Mack Power Splash. The number 38 spot is another unknown coaster in China. I promise you it will get better, just let me get through this. This coaster is like almost completely unknown. It's an Intamin straddle coaster, or whatever you want to call it, and this one will be themed to aviation of some sorts. The only thing we know about it is that it has blue tracks and white supports, so basically expect something like Arctic Rescue. And guess what? Arctic Rescue is in the number 37 spot. This Intamin straddle launch coaster is at my home park, and boy am I excited for it. This will have an indoor launch with an outdoor track section and will barely go above 30 feet. There's a second outdoor launch, but I don't think it will be amazingly good. I really hope it just ends up being better than expected in something like Jubilant at Summerland, but I can really only hope, and any new addition is a good addition, so I'm not complaining. The number 36 spot is a coaster that we are much more familiar with, the Wild Mouse at Cedar Point. I don't care one bit about this coaster. All these enthusiasts are raving about a new coaster that's coming to Cedar Point, but like really, who cares? It's a Zamperla Wild Mouse. I literally rode one of these at my local state fair. It's nothing special, but at least Cedar Point got a coaster. Also, the trains for this are just hell goofy, but it fits into the theme perfectly. The 35th spot goes to Project Dark Coaster at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. This is another one of those Intamin straddle launch coasters, the third of the 3 that are opening in 2023. Hey, that rhymed. So the thing that's special about this one is it's indoors. I know, right? Spooky. This is going to be castle themed, though I don't know how much. SeaWorld is very hit or miss on their theming, and this is also going to have 4 launches, so it will definitely be the best Intamin family coaster this year. The 34th spot is Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood. When Dollywood said they spent most of the amount of money on the coaster ever, this was exactly the opposite of what we were all thinking, but I kinda like it. Who doesn't enjoy a solid family coaster with a good environment and an onboard audio? Well, the people who wanted a Giga are probably mad. The 33rd spot is Mythica Coaster coming to the one Legoland whose name I cannot pronounce in Germany. This is a junior wing coaster, so it's definitely going to be pretty mellow, but it still packs in 2 inversions into a layout and looks to be a solid introductory thrill coaster. This is the one thing that puts this park on the map for me, so I guess it has to be somewhat good. The 32nd spot goes to what I say is Mythica Coaster's counterpart, Mandrill Mayhem. The name just got announced like yesterday as of writing a script, so that's cool I guess. It's a Jumanji-themed junior wing coaster at Chessington Worlds of Adventure. This one is going to have only 1 inversion, but it's a shuttle, so I might go through it twice, I'm not too sure. But nevertheless, this will be the second time B&M puts LSMs on their wing coaster, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. The 31st spot goes to Primordial at Lagoon. This thing has been in construction for seriously so long, and I'm happy to see it finally open. This is an in-house, part shooting dark ride, part coaster hybrid ride that takes place inside and around the mountain. This is going to be seriously cool, and I would say is an all-around good ride. I don't know how good of a coaster this will be, but it will be a good ride. The number 30 spot goes to Wandering Oaks Sliding Sleighs. This is a family coaster that is coming to Hong Kong Disneyland. It's a Vekoma Junior coaster, but that really doesn't matter. It's made by Disney and that's all you need to know. I love theming and I would have really high hopes for this ride, but like, I keep on finding too many similarities to this and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and that wasn't good at all. Sure, it will be guaranteed to have amazing theming, but it's definitely not going to be the best coaster ever. The 29th spot marks the moment that we are done with all the family coasters. For the most part, there's like 1 more left. So this is an unknown Vekoma Hyperspace World coming to one of the Fanta Wilds in China. Now I like Vekoma, I like what they are doing, and this is what a small scale coaster of theirs looked like. It packs everything into the layout nicely, and I think it does a good job for its height. But like, it's not Vekoma's best work, and it's really nothing to write home about, so it ends up in the bottom half. The 28th spot is an unknown Dynamic Attractions SFX coaster coming to Genting Skyworlds. This is like a scaled down version of Mission Ferrari. It's gonna be that, but less cool. We really don't know much about this coaster. It's said to have 2 inversions and 4 tricks, so I think it will be pretty interesting, but who knows. These SFX coasters are incredibly unique, but I really want to see how reliable they will end up being since they have a bunch of these moving parts. Mad Racers ended up in the number 27 spot. This is a Thunderbird clone, so it's the same as American Thunder at Six Flags St. Louis. This is a mid-tier GCI, hopefully this one will be glass smooth upon opening, so it'll be slightly better than its counterparts. It'll be the 3rd of its clone, and the other one is in Finland, so it's really not much to write home about, just a boring GCI clone. The 26th spot goes to the Intamin launch coaster at SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. I didn't really know much about this coaster, but sitting with my editor going through the list, he said it's Manta with inversions, and then I knew exactly what this was in just a second. If this is true, I will have a decent amount of airtime without taking up much profile in terms of height, and will have inversions thrown in. This coaster has 3 launches, 2 boost ones, so it'll definitely be longer than Manta at SeaWorld San Diego, and probably be more intense because of the inversions. The last coaster in this video, and the 25th spot, goes to the giant inverted boomerang opening in Energylandia. Giant inverted boomerangs are really good if they are smooth, and generally they are. This coaster has not operated in 15 years and has been sitting in storage for 13 years, so will Energylandia be able to put this together and preserve its legacy? I have absolutely no idea. This was a good coaster when it was deja vu at 6 Flags over Georgia, and hopefully it will continue its dominance over in Brazil. That's officially the halfway point. We have gone through the first 25 coasters out of the top 50. I know there were a lot of family coasters and a lot of unknown coasters, but there will be increasingly less of that in the top half. Make sure to come back in a week for the top 25 coasters opening in 2023. That's all for today's video, guys. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.